Revealed, doctor discovers two little girls' hidden hunger. A heartwarming, life-changing journey. Dr. Emily Carter stood in the gentle glow of Maplewood Elementary's nurse's office, her heart a mix of hope and heartbreak. A morning filled with routine checkups suddenly spun into chaos as she caught sight of 8-year-old Mia and her little sister Sophie. The sparkle that usually danced in their eyes was replaced by shadows of worry and need. Emily's breath hitched. How could two bright, innocent girls seem so frail? Their sunken cheeks told a story that echoed louder than words ever could. She knelt to their level, brushing back a lock of Mia's hair. The warmth in their hands barely required a squeeze to convey their trust, yet Emily felt the weight of a hidden struggle press against her chest. Their single mother, Sarah, worked day and night at the diner, a smiling face serving hot meals while the hunger in her own home whispered relentlessly. "How are you two feeling today?" Emily asked, her voice soothing. Their shy smiles faltered. "It's okay to tell me if something's wrong." Mia hesitated, casting a glance at Sophie who stayed quiet, chewing her lip. Emily's heart raced. Why did the silence feel so heavy? Suddenly, Mia's eyes brimmed with tears. "Sometimes we don't have enough food," she murmured, courage punctuating her words. Those innocent, heartbreaking words ignited a fire in Emily. Each child she treated was like family, and these girls were no exception. It wasn't just about health, it was about survival. She was a doctor, sworn to help. But what do you do when the disease is hunger, lurking in the shadows of your very own town? As the days passed, Emily dove deeper into their story. The contrast between the sleek storefronts rising around Maplewood and the struggles of families echoed eerily in her mind. The town was losing its heart to corporate giants. Her chest tightened with indignation. How could a place steeped in community disregard its most vulnerable? Determined, she gathered the townsfolk, telling them about Mia and Sophie's plight. Neighbors rallied, breathlessly creating a network of compassion. With fundraisers lit with laughter and love at the community center, Emily felt her heart swell. The change transformed not just Mia and Sophie's lives but rekindled the spirit of unity in her town. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as the spark of hope began to shine brighter, a storm cloud loomed over their community. News of the corporate decision to demolish the community center struck Emily like a bolt of lightning. The space that had become a refuge for families was in peril. With the community's lifeline at stake, Emily felt the pulse of urgency fill her veins. She resolved to stand strong, not just as a doctor, but as a voice for every neglected child laughing in the face of struggle. With heartfelt chants and vibrant signs in hand, the townsfolk marched, united in determination. As Emily stared down the corporate representatives, the crowd's energy surged around her. Could their relentless hope outshine greed? Would the spirit of Maplewood firm and unwavering be enough to win this battle? Her heart pounded, the moment left everyone breathless. What would happen next? Would they reclaim their dignity, their community? The fight for justice was just beginning, and the stakes had never been higher. The crowd surged forward, a tapestry of faces painted in determination and solidarity. Emily's heart raced as she caught glimpses of familiar faces, among them Mia and Sophie, clutching homemade signs adorned with bright drawings, their innocent smiles glowing against the somber backdrop of the protest. "Save our center!" they chanted, their voices piercing through the heavy air, and it brought an unexpected warmth to Emily's heart. This was more than a protest. This was a unified stand against neglect, a fight for their future. Every voice mattered, every heartbeat echoed in the struggle for compassion and community. As the corporate representatives appeared, dressed in sterile suits, their indifferent expression sent a wave of anger through Emily. She felt a shift in the energy around her, a resolve deepening like a root taking hold in the earth. They didn't understand Maplewood. They didn't see the families who relied on this center for resources, for hope, for connection. To them, it was merely a building; to the townsfolk, it was a lifeline. We deserve a place for our children to grow and learn. Emily shouted, her voice rising above the din. Her words ignited a spark. The crowd responded with a roar of agreement. Together, we have the power to change our narrative. Together, we can't be ignored. As the evening sun cast a golden hue over the scene, a wave of inspiration washed over them. Emily glanced at Mia and Sophie, their small figures lost in the crowd but their spirits defiant. She thought of the promise she had made to them to not only treat their wounds but also to nurture their dreams. Is this what community meant? A collective heart beating as one for those in need? Emily's thoughts whirled as she began to outline a plan. "We will not back down," she murmured, determination coursing through her veins. "We will organize town meetings, gather support from local businesses, and spread the word about how vital this center is." A firm camaraderie blossomed among the townsfolk, growing stronger with every shared story and every hand held in solidarity. Children, parents, seniors, and even teenagers joined the movement, each voice adding to the chorus of hope. Emily felt the shift; each talk sparked a new idea. They set up smaller groups to reach out to local media, documenting stories of those affected, painting vivid pictures of the real lives behind the fight. As days merged into weeks, the community center transformed into a hub of activity. People decorated the walls with photographs of happy families, children playing, and shared meals. They held bake sales and car washes. Everywhere, laughter and camaraderie wrapped them like a cozy blanket. But just as spirits reached a triumphant high, they received the corporate response. A letter arrived, cold and corporate, stating the plans for demolition would proceed as scheduled. Emily clutched the paper as disappointment washed over her. The words felt heavy, an anchor dragging down the tides of hope. What would her next move be? Could they stage a larger protest? Or rally influential community members to advocate for them? Her heart ached for Mia and Sophie. She needed to find the way to show them that their voices were not just echoes, but a thunder that demanded attention. With a fierce resolve burning deep within her, Emily stood at the center of the newly transformed community hub, knowing the fight was far from over. The words of the letter clung to the air like a storm cloud, but she wouldn't give up. As she looked around, she spoke softly but clearly. "This is just the beginning, my friends. Let us take the fight to them." The townsfolk rallied around her, resolute. But looming questions danced in their minds. Would their voices truly be heard? Would the spirit of Maplewood prevail? The answer felt tantalizingly just out of reach. The days that followed felt like a blur. Emily's resolve only grew stronger with every sunrise. She knew they had to act quickly, but the weight of uncertainty lingered over their heads. Gathering at the community center, the townsfolk looked to Emily for guidance. Their faces reflected a mix of fear and hope, each one reflecting the spirit of someone who believed in a brighter future. "Okay, everyone," Emily called out, her voice steady. "We need to organize our next steps. A larger protest is vital, but we also need to show what this center means to us." She gestured towards the makeshift board displaying photos and testimonials pinned by community members. "These stories, this is what we'll take to the media. We must show them we're not just fighting for a building. We're fighting for families, dreams, and futures." A murmur of agreement swept through the crowd. One by one, people began sharing their experiences, recounting the times they had leaned on the center for support. An older man spoke about the friendships forged during bingo nights, while a young mother teared up recalling the classes that had helped her gain confidence. Emily felt a lump in her throat as each story pulled at her heartstrings, reminding her why they were fighting. As the stories flowed, Mia and Sophie sat cross-legged near the front, listening intently. Emily couldn't help but glance at them often, noticing how their faces lit up with every shared tale, their eyes wide with the understanding that they were part of something much bigger than themselves. "I think we should create a video," Sophie piped up, her small voice startling everyone into silence. "We can ask everyone to tell their stories. Show what the center does for us." Mia nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah. And we can share it online. Make it go viral." Emily's heart swelled with pride, her faith in the next generation solidifying. "That's a brilliant idea. Let us get everyone involved. We can set up recording stations outside the center next week." The room buzzed with excitement, planning taking shape along with renewed energy. Emily felt the collective heartbeat of Maplewood thrumming stronger than ever. She could almost see the roots digging deeper, securing unity and love, but as Emily ventured into action, a nagging fear began to creep in. What if the video wasn't enough? What if they still weren't heard? Yet, she quickly pushed it away. They had to believe in the power of their community, the resilience of their shared dreams. Later that night, as she lay in bed, the faces of Mia and Sophie flickered in her mind. What if they discovered their dreams would never come true without this center? Sleep eluded her as she considered the impact losing the building would have on these children, on all the families. She envisioned the other side of the protest during the following week. There they would be, with their video and their passion, ready to stand firm. They would not just fight with words but with the very essence of what they represented. On the day of the protest, Emily felt a surge of hope. She stood before the crowd, her heart pounding, eyeing Mia and Sophie weaving their way through the gathering with their signs. "Let us make sure our message is loud and clear," she shouted. "We are Maplewood, and we will not be silenced." As her words echoed, a flash of confidence surged through her. Then, from the back of the crowd, a figure emerged. Someone unexpected. The air grew tense, and Emily squinted to see better. It was one of the corporate representatives, but he wasn't alone. He had a camera crew with him. What would this mean for their fight? Would they finally get the attention they so desperately sought, or would it all be used against them? Emily's heart raced as she clenched her fists. The moment of truth had arrived, and she could feel the stakes rising. Would their voices finally break through the corporate barrier? The crowd shifted nervously, whispers blending with the rustle of signs waving in the air. Emily felt the tension wrap around her like a thick blanket. The corporate representative, tall and imposing, moved closer, flanked by his camera crew, ready to capture everything. She straightened her spine, recalling the fear and hope she had seen in the eyes of her neighbors. They didn't just need a rally, they needed to be heard. Excuse me," Emily called out, her voice echoing over the din. She stepped forward, adrenaline rushing through her veins. "Can you please tell us why you're here?" The representative smirked, his expression an unsettling mix of condescension and curiosity. "I'm just here to cover the story," he replied smoothly, the camera angle shifting to frame Emily. "Don't worry, you'll get your moment in the spotlight." "Spotlight?" she echoed, her heart racing. "We want you to understand what this center means to our community, our lives." He waved dismissively, and Emily felt a wave of frustration. But she pressed on, gesturing to the crowd. These people have stories to tell. They deserve to be seen as more than just protesters. They are mothers, fathers, children looking for hope. To her surprise, the crowd began to murmur, voices rising in a tide of shared experiences. It felt electric, the pulse of community surging through them. One by one, people began stepping forward, sharing their heartfelt testimonials. A father with tears in his eyes spoke of how the center had helped his daughter find her way after her family fell apart. A teenager shared how support groups had turned his life around when he felt isolated. Even Mia and Sophie got up, voices trembling but strong, recounting how they learned to be brave. As the words flowed, the camera crew shifted their focus, capturing the raw emotions spilling forth. Emily felt a sense of pride wash over her, and hope wrapped around her heart like a warm hug. This was their moment, the essence of their community laid bare. But doubt lurked just beneath the surface. Would they be portrayed accurately? Would the story they were telling even penetrate the walls of indifference? Why did it feel like fighting an uphill battle? The representative exchanged glances with his crew, something unreadable in his eyes. When they finally dropped their cameras, the crowd paused, breath held in anticipation. Would he dismiss them? Or would he understand? Just as Emily opened her mouth to plead for their truth, the representative spoke again, his tone unexpectedly serious. "All right," he said, "let us see how this story unfolds." Hope flickered within her, but it was quickly overshadowed by a new anxiety. A part of her feared what would happen next. This could change everything, but change always came with a price. What if their vision didn't align with his goals? As the crowd swelled with renewed energy, they began chanting, "Maplewood matters. Maplewood matters." But Emily felt a tightening knot in her stomach. A loud rumble of discontent was brewing from the back of the crowd. Voices grew louder, and suddenly, another group of individuals emerged, not community supporters, but local protesters for the corporate side. They held signs claiming progress and development, seeking to drown out the voices of the center. Emily's heart sank. This wasn't just a battle for a building anymore, this was becoming a fight for the soul of their community. "Stay strong, stay united," Emily yelled, her voice slicing through the chaos. But deep down, would they really be able to hold their ground against this new wave? The crowd was split, tension rising. As they clashed, Emily's eyes caught the gaze of Mia and Sophie. Their small fingers tightly gripped each other's hands, eyes full of determination, but what would it cost them in the end? Just then, as the noise reached a fever pitch, a loud sound echoed, a siren in the distance, getting closer by the second. What would come next? The looming threat of official intervention hung in the air like a dark cloud. Would they be able to stand their ground, or would this be the end of their fight before it even truly began? The siren's wail sliced through the air, sharp and piercing. Emily's heart raced as she looked around, scanning the faces of her neighbors. The joy they'd felt moments ago turned to worry, anxiety painting every expression. "Stay calm," she shouted, trying to project confidence, but her voice trembled slightly. She could feel the weight of their collective fear, the uncertainty twisting inside her like a knot. The corporate representatives, emboldened by the vocal support from the protesters, began to brandish their signs higher, stoking the flames of division. "We need progress, not protests," one shouted, his voice echoing over the chants of the opposing crowd. Progress? Emily thought bitterly, glancing at Mia and Sophie, who had automatically tucked themselves closer to their parents, their innocent faces painted with confusion. This wasn't just a fight for a center, this was a fight for their future, their right to hope and healing. Suddenly, the roar of a police vehicle pulled into view, blue lights flashing like thunder. The crowd fell silent for a heartbeat, a collective breath held tight in their chests. Emily's stomach lurched. It felt as if the world had slowed down, the urgency of the moment weighing heavily on her. "Everyone, we need to stand together," she shouted, desperation threading through her words, even as her legs felt like lead. "Remember why we're here." A murmur spread through the crowd, and slowly, people began to rally around her words. Signs were lifted, voices rose once more, fueled by shared purpose. "Maplewood matters. Maplewood matters." They chanted, their unity blossoming into something fierce and unstoppable, but as the police stepped out of their vehicle, stern-faced and watchful, a new fear crept in. Emily felt the chilling grip of reality. Would they see her community as peaceful protesters, or just another nuisance to be managed? One officer stepped forward, his eyes scanning the crowd before settling on her. "Ma'am," he began, voice authoritative yet somehow understanding, "what's the situation here?" Struggling to maintain control, Emily took a deep breath. "We're standing up for the Maplewood Community Center. It's a lifeline for so many here. We just want. Before she could finish, another shout came from the corporate side. You're just a bunch of losers. A protester spat, and the crowd's energy shifted dangerously. Everyone, please. Emily cried, looking to Mia and Sophie, who stood wide-eyed, holding on to the belief that their words could bridge the gap. Their hopeful gazes tugged at her heart. If only they could somehow show the world what the center truly meant. The officer crossed his arms, an unmistakable tension in his posture as he assessed both crowds. Emily felt adrenaline spike in her veins. They couldn't back down. Stand strong, Maplewood. Fight for our future. Emily felt the pulse of the crowd merge with her heartbeat, and as a ripple of determination surged through them, she realized they were willing to risk everything. But then, just as she began to feel the strength of the moment, a shadow stepped into her line of sight. The representative, now standing at the forefront of the corporate protest, smirked triumphantly, clearly enjoying the chaos unfolding before him. There was an unsettling gleam in his eye, as though he had a plan brewing that none of them could foresee. What did he know that they didn't? Feeling a renewed sense of urgency, Emily stepped forward, ready to challenge him again. This was their chance to take back control. But as she prepared to speak, the wind shifted, carrying a metallic whisper something was about to give. And deep down, she knew they were on the precipice of something monumental, for better or worse. Just then, as the tension boiled to the surface, a loud crash erupted from behind the crowd, pulling everyone's attention away. What had just happened? The crowd gasped, a chorus of surprised voices erupting as the sound of shattering glass echoed through the air. Emily spun around, heart racing, to see a car had collided with a nearby vendor's stall, sending crates of colorful fruit tumbling to the ground. Apples rolled and oranges bounced. Chaos, real chaos had arrived. Fear clawed at her, but something deeper sparked within. Look! Hold steady, she yelled, directing the crowd back to their purpose. She could feel the moment slipping. They couldn't let distraction break their focus. But the stark reality of the crash swept over them like cold water. The corporate side seemed to revel in the disarray, their jeers nearly drowning out the cries of concern from the gathered community. This is just proof you guys can't control a situation, one of the corporate protesters taunted, smirking at the panic taking hold. Cut it out! Emily shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. A mix of determination and indignation surged through her. This was not how the narrative was going to unfold. Help! Someone help! A panicked shout cut through the din. Mia. The little girl was standing frozen beside her crumpled stall, eyes wide with fear. Mia! Emily cried, pushing forward through the crowd, heart pounding as she threaded her way past flailing arms and distressed faces. Sophie, clutching her sister's side, was breathless and trembling. Emily reached them just as fragments of shattered glass glimmered ominously at their feet. It's okay, I'm here. She crouched down, wrapping her arms around them both and pulling them close. Relief washed over her as she felt their small bodies enveloped in her embrace. Mommy, the loud noise, it scared me. Mia whimpered, tears pooling in her innocent eyes. I know, honey, I know, but you're safe, Emily soothed, her heartbeat steadying. She could not allow fear to take hold. It was now or never. Pulling back slightly, she scanned the crowd for support, spotting familiar faces, neighbors filled with camaraderie. They couldn't falter. Listen up. Emily declared, her voice steady and fierce. This isn't just about us anymore. We need to show our kids that we stand together, no matter what. Determination etched into every line of her face. Slowly, heads turned. She saw nods of agreement, eyes brightening as those felt the energy shift again. Let's clean this up, someone called out, and it was like a temporary spell had been broken. People rushed forward, hands extended toward the scattered fruit and broken glass, while others connected eyes, channeling their unity into action. Emily felt the surge, the undeniable power of community rekindled in this messy moment, but as they began picking up the debris, the corporate representative pushed through the crowd, a sinister smirk plastered on his lips. Real progress isn't achieved by whining, it's seized, he sneered, gesturing to the chaos surrounding them. Emily's stomach twisted at the calculation in his eyes. "What are you planning?" she called out, a chill traversing her spine. He stepped closer, confident. "Just a little reminder. This fight isn't just about a center. It's a much bigger investment." Emily swallowed hard, understanding that the stakes were higher than she ever imagined. Her heart sank, but beneath it, a torch flared. "If you think stoking fear will bring us down, you're just fueling our fire," she retorted, eyes blazing. She felt rallied, emboldened, but just as Emily prepared to launch into her passionate defense, a strange siren pierced the air once more, this time low and pulsing. What new crisis loomed on the horizon? What more would they have to face to protect their home? The air thickened, the moment was heavy with anticipation, but before she could share her next thought, the representative leaned in, his voice cold and confident. "You have no idea what you're up against." What was his game? Emily's heart raced, not just with fear, but with a mounting sense of urgency. The siren's sound echoed in her ears, intertwining with the chaos around her. She felt the heat of the corporate representative's gaze as he held her trapped in an unsettling stare. Whatever he had planned, it wasn't just a game anymore, it was personal. "Listen up!" Emily shouted again, louder this time, seeking to drown out the siren and the doubt creeping into the minds around her. "We have to stay focused. Our kids are watching us." The crowd hesitated, but the flicker of determination in her voice began to weave through the air like a lifeline. A neighbor, Greg, stepped up beside her, his face resolute. "She's right. We can't let them see us afraid." His voice crackled with energy, igniting sparks of courage in those around. One by one, parents started holding their children tighter, their expressions shifting from fear to resolve, and then the siren cut off abruptly, replaced by the urgent blare of sirens in the distance. Emily whipped around, eyes scanning for the source. Was it the police? An ambulance? All sorts of dangerous scenarios began running through her mind, each one scarier than the last. Suddenly, the sound of heavy footsteps drew her attention back to the corporate representative. He leaned in slightly, an unsettling smile creeping across his face as if he was enjoying the show. "They'll be here any moment, you know. They aren't just here for the mess," he taunted, glancing at the fallen fruits before fixedly meeting Emily's glare. "They're here to take control. And you? You're just prolonging the inevitable." The crowd reacted. Murmurs of anxiety rippled through the gathering. Emily felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The fear she had quelled moments ago threatened to claw its way back. Yet, deep inside, a fire flickered. These were her neighbors. They had fought this far together. She could not let an outsider shift the balance. "Stand strong," she shouted, planting her feet firmly in the dirt. "This is our home. No one is taking it from us. Not now, not ever." She stepped closer to the corporate man, her heart pounding a steady beat like a drum. "You think fear will break us? Maybe it's time you realized we're stronger together." The determination in her voice felt electric, igniting something in the crowd, but just as cheers began to rise, the sound of a police car's siren pierced through the afternoon air, louder now, drowning out Emily's hopes for unity. The crowd turned, collective breaths held as they all faced the approaching vehicle. "What do we do, Emily?" Sophie's trembling voice snapped her back to reality. All eyes turned to her, vulnerabilities laid bare. Emily glanced around at those faces, hopeful, fearful, yet undeniably resolute. She could see determination burning bright in the children, the elderly, everyone in between. To them, she was not just a leader, she was their beacon of hope. "Stay together," Emily answered, voice steady. "Whatever happens next, we face it united." The police car screeched to a halt, its sirens silenced, and the oppressive air hung thick with tension. Two officers stepped out, faces cold and serious, and the corporate representative shifted back, an amused yet guarded glint in his eyes. What were they about to unveil? What more were they willing to sacrifice to seize control? Suddenly, the weight of their fight pressed down hard on Emily's shoulders. As she stood there, surrounded by her community's energy, she couldn't help but wonder, would they stand strong against the tide, or would this be the moment it all crumbled away? Questions swirled in her mind like a storm, just as the first officer stepped forward, ready to speak. What would they say? And more importantly, what would she do when the truth was finally revealed? The officer scanned the crowd, the sunlight glinting off his badge. Emily felt her pulse quicken, an electric sensation coursing through her veins. The tension was palpable, and the silence that followed felt like a weight pressing down on her. What would they say? Is this your gathering? The officer asked, his voice steady, eyes cool. We received a report about a disturbance. Disturbance? Emily echoed, feeling her gut twist. There's no disturbance here, just a community standing together against those trying to take our homes. She gestured emphatically towards the corporate representative, who smirked as if savoring the scene. The second officer, a woman with sharp features and compassionate eyes, stepped forward, placing her hand gently on the first officer's arm. We're not here to escalate anything, she said, her tone softer. But we do need to know what's going on. Greg shifted beside Emily, his expression hardening. Those people, he pointed at the corporate man, are trying to push us out. We can't let that happen. The officer turned his gaze back to Emily, as if searching for something in her eyes. Is that true? Are you here in protest? Protest. The word hung in the air, heavy and rife with implications. Emily could feel the weight of the moment, the intensity of it wrapping around her like a tight embrace. She nodded slowly, willing herself to breathe, to hold her ground. Yes, it's true. We're not backing down. Our families, our homes, this is our place. You can't let them take that away. Her voice trembled but remained resolute. Behind her, whispers of agreement flared from the crowd. Emily could sense their rallying strength, weaving through her like a thread in a tapestry, binding them together. But as she spoke, she couldn't shake the feeling that the officers looked grave for a reason. The first officer exhaled loudly, eyebrows furrowed. All right, we need to determine what actions to take next. Can everyone please stay calm and disperse peacefully? A murmur swept through the crowd. Disperse peacefully? Was this it? Emily stepped forward, the fire in her soul igniting again. No! She shouted, her voice carrying. This isn't just about today. It's about our right to live here, to protect our families and our community. We're here to show our strength. The officer's expression softened slightly, but he maintained his stance. I understand your concerns, but we must manage the situation. Let me advise you to. No! Interrupted Greg, stepping forward. You're supposed to protect us, not them. Emily felt the surge of emotion rising in her chest. She turned to the crowd, her community that had gathered, now riled up. We need to make them see us. We need them to hear us. This isn't just about the land, this is about our lives. In that moment, a spark ignited in the children's eyes, in Sophie's fearful stare, and even in the older folk standing behind them. Their energy wrapped around Emily, lifting her spirit, but the air grew thick with uncertainty as the officers exchanged looks. The corporate man seemed equally intrigued, an amused smirk on his face. Your efforts are admirable, he called out, raising his voice to drown out the dissent. But ultimately futile. You're only delaying the inevitable. Everything felt like it was teetering on a knife's edge. Emily's heart raced. Would they back down? Would that smile on the corporate man's face become their reality? The moment hung, fragile and desperate, filled with the potential for change or collapse. Emily took a deep breath, her voice rising one last time. Together, we can't be broken. Not now, not ever. The air pulsed with energy, but she could feel the tide shifting, uncertainty clawing at the edges of their resolve. Would they rally together for a fight, or would this be their surrender? The truth of the matter loomed large, and Emily realized she needed to act decisively. Would she lead them into the unknown, stepping into a possible confrontation? As the crowd lingered, a question hung in the air: what choice would they make, and how far would they go to hold on to what they loved most? As the tension hung in the air, the crowd shifted uneasily, eyes darting from the officers to the corporate man and back to Emily. She felt the weight of their collective gaze, a mix of hope and fear resting on her shoulders. This was her moment to inspire, to ignite the spirit within each person gathered here. With every heartbeat, Emily searched for the right words. This isn't just about us, it's about our future, about the children who should grow up knowing they belong here. Her voice rang with conviction, cutting through the uncertainty like a warm knife through ice. Behind her, Sophie stared wide-eyed, gripping her mother's hand tightly. Emily remembered the laughter and joy of the children in this neighborhood running through the park, filling the air with light. Would they lose all of that if they let fear win today? The woman officer regarded Emily, her brow furrowing with sympathy. We understand. Just understand that there are procedures we have to follow. She shifted slightly, clearly feeling the weight of the situation but caught between duty and empathy. Greg stepped forward, his brows knitted angrily. What procedures? Allowing a corporation to sweep in and take away homes? We're not criminals for wanting to protect what's ours. The officer nodded slowly, trying to defuse the situation. I promise we're here to ensure everyone's safety. But if this escalates... She let the words trail off, the warning hanging like a dark cloud. Emily could sense the unease spreading like wildfire, fear creeping into the hearts of her supporters. The smirk on the corporate representative's face seemed to grow, like a predator savoring the moment before the kill. Taking a step closer, Emily raised her chin defiantly. We can stand together. Look around. These aren't just buildings, they're homes. She gestured to Sophie, who was now clutching a worn-out teddy bear. How can we let them take even that away? This is where memories are made. A murmur of agreement rolled through the crowd, and Emily felt a flicker of hope. The fear was still there, but now determination began to surface. Suddenly, the corporate man interjected, his voice dripping with condescension. You truly think this is some fantasy? I assure you, the wheels of progress are turning, and nostalgia won't slow them down. His words struck a nerve, igniting a spark in several community members who began shouting back. But instead of empowering them, the outbursts only further clouded the atmosphere with chaos. Everyone, listen. Emily called, her urgency slicing through the noise. Let us try to keep our focus. We can't give them the satisfaction of seeing us unravel. She searched their faces, desperate to rally their strength. United, we stand. Let's show them what we're made of. The crowd began to chant, voices intertwining to form a collective roar. Moments later, Emily felt the raw, powerful surge of solidarity washing over her. It was terrifying and exhilarating, a force determined to defy the looming threat. Feeling emboldened, she turned back to the officers. We understand your role here, but we can't back down. We're willing to stand our ground, peacefully, but we won't disperse, not now, not ever. The woman officer stepped back, glancing at her partner as if weighing options. Emily could see the regret etched on her face. It was clear she empathized with the struggle but was bound by her duties. In that charged silence, a familiar voice broke through. It was Mrs. Thompson, one of the neighborhood's oldest residents, her face lined with worry but her spirit unyielding. Emily, dear, she said, her voice steady, what happens when fear turns to action? Sometimes we need to risk it all, even if it means confrontations. The crowd fell silent, the weight of her words resonating deeply. Emily's heart raced. Would they muster the courage to challenge the inevitable and fight for their homes? As she looked into each determined face in the crowd, the question loomed larger. What if they did take that step? What would that confrontation look like? And then, as if the air itself were electric, Emily made a choice. It was time to set her plan into action. What awaited them on this path? And would they be ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead? The police officers exchanged cautious glances, the gravity of the situation weighing heavy in the air. Emily stood resolute, heart racing, fueled by the fierce loyalty of her community. Children stared up, wide-eyed, with faces filled with hope and innocence, while the cracks of fear were evident in the adults around her, the tension tangible enough to grip anyone's heart. Everyone! Emily shouted, capturing the attention of the crowd. This is our home. This is where our children laugh and play, where we build memories. We can't let anyone take that away. We stand together. We fight together. At that moment, a surge of energy coursed through the crowd like electricity. Hands squeezed each other tightly, old friends and new allies, all fueled by the same desire, to protect their community. Suddenly, Mia stepped forward, her small voice cutting through the chaos. We believe in us, she said, looking up at Emily with wide, trusting eyes. Her sister Sophie stood next to her, clutching her teddy bear like a shield. We just want a place to grow up. Tears welled in Emily's eyes at the courage of these two girls. In that instant, she understood that this fight wasn't just hers, it belonged to them, to every child who deserved to grow up with laughter and safety. The corporate representative shifted uncomfortably, his confidence unfurling like a wilted flower in the heat of the moment. This was not the parade of protesters he had expected. This was an unyielding community, filled with hearts intertwined by dreams. As police officers listened, Emily took a deep breath. This was her chance, their chance to set the record straight. We are not here to create chaos, she asserted, looking into the eyes of the officers who were simply doing their jobs. We're here to stand firm, peacefully, to show the world what this center means to us. To every family here. Yeah, shouted Greg, raising his sign high, the words Maplewood Matters scrawled in bright letters. This is not just about buildings, this is about lives. Our lives. The officers exchanged a look, then stepped forward again. The woman officer nodded towards the crowd, her voice steady. We hear you. But understand, we need a peaceful resolution. It's important to us, just like it is to you. Emily's heart raced, the development was promising. Let us discuss how we can work together, she said, fighting to keep her voice steady, to create a solution that respects our community. What if they refuse? Someone from the crowd murmured, uncertainty creeping in. We won't let it deter us. Emily declared, turning back to the sea of faces staring back with courage. We will keep pushing, we'll keep reminding everyone that Maplewood is more than a location on a map. We are a family. We stand united, and we're not going anywhere. As murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, Sophie beamed, her small smile lighting up the moment. The corporate representative chuckled, but the sound lacked conviction. You think talking will change anything? Your voices are nice, but irrelevant. Emily stepped forward, propelled by instinct, her heart hammering. You don't know what we're capable of. You only see numbers, we see love, tenacity, and a fierce will to fight for our home. The crowd continued chanting Maplewood Matters. It grew stronger, louder, and Emily felt the energy they were creating wrap around her with each reverberating voice. Just as Emily prepared to emphasize their commitment further, sirens wailed anew, and another police car pulled up. Officers emerged with a tense air, the moment felt charged with anticipation. Emily turned to Mia and Sophie, their faces reflecting a mix of fright and unwavering trust. No matter what happens next, I want you two to know something. I'm proud of you. You've shown so much bravery today. We might face challenges, but together, we'll weather this storm. The girls nodded, their grips tightening around their worn teddy bear and Emily's hand. The second officer stepped closer, and with compassionate eyes, said, "We just want to ensure everyone stays safe. We can't have anyone hurt today. But we're willing to talk, let us find a way to work out your concerns." Emily felt hope bloom. "Thank you. All we ask is to ensure this community center stays safe and sound. We celebrate it and what it means for our children, our families." More police began to gather, eyes focused. The summer air was thick with the tension of the unknown. Though that corporate figure still eyed the scene greedily, the warm voices of neighbors stood strong against the cold force of indifference. The power of human connection filled the air, creating a rainbow of determination. As discussion broke out amidst the police, Emily felt emboldened by the rally of support around her. They could ensure their voices were heard. They could reclaim their narrative. After tense negotiations, the police set up a space for peaceful dialogue. As the crowd joined together, laughter replaced the fear, hope igniting in every corner of Maplewood. Emily caught sight of Mia and Sophie, and in their tiny faces, she glimpsed a brighter future sprouting from the ashes of adversity. This wasn't merely about the community center anymore, this was about a collective commitment to protect their future together. In the coming days, with stubborn resolve and empowered spirit, they moved forward, establishing community-led efforts and solidifying a foundation to protect Maplewood from corporate menace. As for Emily, she promised to carry the voices of everyone who stood beside her today into the future. It was their bravery that kindled the flame of change, it was their unity that brought hope back when uncertainty threatened to envelop them all. Through it all, Emily had discovered the depth of her love for her community, and they had all discovered the strength that comes from standing together, side by side, resolute against the winds of change. And so, the heart of Maplewood beat triumphantly, a beacon of hope and resilience, illuminating the way for families to dream and grow within the cherished embrace of their community. If you want to witness more inspiring stories like this, you need to subscribe now to stay updated and not miss anything. This is the moment to show your support by hitting that like button, it really helps our community thrive. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your engagement makes all the difference, and together, we'll keep the spirit of Maplewood shining bright. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this incredible journey. Thank you for being part of this movement.